Yasuri Shichika and his older sister Nanami are the descendants of the sixth leader of the Kyotouryuu sword martial arts school, Yasuri Matsu. Their father was exiled to an island because the Japanese shogun feared his power after he slew Takehito Hida, the leader of a rebellion. Over the years, his father has trained him in their martial arts style to never use a sword, as his body should be the real sword, making him the ultimate blade. One day, Shichika goes outside to get some new fresh water for himself and his sister and ends up meeting a white-haired girl named Togame. He quickly questions her why she's on their island, and she asks to meet Yasuri Matsu. Shichika quickly mentions his father passed away 1 year ago, and that he's the new family head. She then reveals herself to be working under the Japanese shogun as a strategist, and she came to the island on a mission. He takes her inside, where she tells him her mission. She asks if they know about Shikazaki, a swordsmith who created 1,000 swords, and how 12 of them are the most important and powerful. She quickly explains that Shogun Q is looking to collect all of the swords, and is only currently missing the last 12 powerful ones. She continues and tells them how the government has sent workers based on money or honor, but all failed. She then says she will give Yasuri a reason to work for her, love. What a weirdo. Suddenly, Nanami quickly pushes both Shichika and Togame down as she notices someone throwing several kunai. Shichika chases the attacker down and meets Komori, an assassin wielding one of the 12 swords, Zedukana. The guy decides to tell that the sword can't break. However, Shichika is determined to break the sword, but Togame comes out. She reminds him of the importance of that sword and warns him not to break it. Komori uses this opportunity to run away while taking Togame hostage. Shichika decides to look for Togame, and she appears running toward him. He quickly kicks her away, revealing it to be the assassin. The assassin asks how did he know, and Shichika is like, I have never seen someone other than my sister and dad in the past 20 years, so I can't remember random faces. Komori then asks Shichika if he knows why Togame wants the sword. He tells him that Togame is the daughter of Hida Takehito, a rebel who betrayed the shogun. She watched her father die and wants the sword for revenge. Togame's story is just like Shichika's. He feels compassion for her and attacks Komori with his super ultimate move of several attacks, which he created the previous day. He then takes the sword and heads toward Togame. He tells her that he has fallen for her and will help her. He bids his sister goodbye to go on a journey to get the swords with Togame. They get to a large city, and Togame tells him they are almost at Inaba, the place for the second sword, Zantu Namakura, which is at the Gekkoku Castle. She tells him the sword is with Iniri Jinkaku, known as Castle Lord or Masterless Samurai. They arrive at the castle and see Jinkaku sitting alone in a room with the sword. Togame tries to negotiate with him, telling him she will give him anything if he gives her the sword. He tells her to enter, but as she is about to, Shichika notices Jinkaku is attempting to kill her, and jumps to pull her with his toes. Jinkaku is shocked that someone could dodge his great sword, which can reach the speed of light. Shichika excuses himself to strategize. He goes outside and tells Togame, while naturally using her long hair as a scarf, that he wants to confirm if Jinkaku will chase them. But since Jinkaku didn't, it means he can't use his sword outside that room. They return, and he attacks Jinkaku with Rose skills. However, he isn't used to battles, so his attack is mild. Jinkaku realizes he is fighting a great opponent, so he cuts himself into two to increase his sword speed. However, Shichika reminds him he can't cut something or someone above him, and he uses his Shattered Blossom skills to kick Jinkaku from above, thereby taking the sword. Their next stop is at Izumo for Tsuruga Meisai, the head of Sanzu Shrine and the owner of the third sword Sentu Tsurugi. Togame goes to speak with Meisai, and Shichika walks around. Togame tells Meisai that she wants the blade with her, a blade with about 1,000 duplicates that she shares among her people. She tells Meisai that she has gotten the first 2 blades, and for each of the blades, they kill the owners. Togame goes to Shichika to narrate what Meisai said. Meisai has instructed her to find the first of the 1,000 blades, and if she sees it, Shichika will fight Meisai. While Togame searches for the sword, Meisai and Shichika get to talk and know about each other while they talk about each other's motives, and she asks him if he ever killed someone. He tells he only killed 2 people for the swords, but reiterates to 3 people, revealing he's the one who ended his father's life. Shichika later meets Togame, who tells him she has found the first sword and that he should be prepared for his next fight. They meet Meisai to schedule their battle for the next day. At noon the following day, the fight starts. Meisai runs and drags Shichika toward the woods, where he sees several swords tied to the trees. Meisai used the previous day to prepare herself for the fight, expecting to use the power of all swords to beat him. but he pulls out the reverse card and forces her to chase him to an open space, where she cannot use her swords to her advantage. She pulls out the original sword from the ground and attacks him by throwing the sword and jumping to the sky. Shichika, on the other hand, uses the palm of her hand and quickly defeats her, therefore owning the right to take her sword. Their next target is Izakura Kanara, the captain of Yoroi pirate, located in Satsuma, who possesses the sword Zokyutu. They arrive at the location and watch Izakura fight someone, making them realize Zokyutu is no sword, but protective armor. They go to the lodge to strategize, but Izakura visits them to propose a deal with them. He and Shichika will have a battle, but both sides must bet something. If Izakura loses, he will give his sword to them and prepare a ship for them to sail to Oari. But he will take Togame with him if Shichika loses, revealing that she looks like his daughter. The duo agrees to the conditions and Shichika goes out to fight Izakura in the arena. He tries to finish the duel as soon as possible with an armor-piercing attack, but Izakura takes no damage. The latter then starts to attack, forcing Shichika to dodge the attacks. He tries once again to use his armor-piercing skill, and Izakura starts to mock that he lacks resolve as the strongest Japanese warrior. Shichika starts to wonder if he should admit defeat and looks at Togame, who starts scolding him for giving up in front of the woman he claims to love. With his resolve back, Shichika prepares for Izakura's attack, who pushes him back with his huge charge attack. Shichika then holds Izakura up in the air and throws him, making him spin until he falls to the floor and passes out from dizziness. They then set out to get their next sword on the ship prepared by Izakura. They reach the Izo region, where everything is covered in snow. Shichika is explored by Togame to carry her until they meet their next opponent, but he passes out in the middle of the snow. Suddenly, a happy girl named Kaneyuki Aitsura appears and single-handedly carries them to her house. She later reveals her identity, and they ask her to take them to meet their clan. But the little girl reveals she's the only survivor of her clan. They talk about the sword, Sauru Kanazuchi, and she mentions that she has it, and goes out to get the sword. Shichika takes the opportunity and decides to reveal to Togame that he knows her true identity, but still promises to accompany her for the rest of his life. Aitsura returns with the sword, but they do not believe it's the sword, so she throws it for them to carry. They can't carry it as the sword is the heaviest sword and the Aitsura people are the only ones strong enough to carry it. She tells them she has to fight them before giving them the sword. She starts a duel with Shichika, who doesn't want to kill her since they need her to carry the sword. Aitsura dodges Shichika's first hits. He then manages to hit her, but she survives. She says it's her turn and tries to swing her sword while jumping. Shichika dodges it, but she changes her swing mid-air, breaking Shichika's forearm bone to block the hit, making him lose a battle for the first time in his life. Shichika is recovering from his injuries in the cave, while Aitsura returns from hunting. They notice she dragged a girl, who reveals to be Kyokan Maniwa, an assassin who wants to possess the legendary sword. The assassin then uses her technique to possess Aitsura's body, finally managing to get enough strength to hold the sword. Shichika, who notices the assassin's tattoos were transferred to Aitsura during the possession. He then decides to strike Aitsura's shoulders with both of his hands, managing to break the possession and set her free. Aitsura wakes up sometime later and thanks them for helping her, promising that she will carry the sword and give it to the shogun. Shichika and Togame continue their journey and reach Mount Sayabashiri Tosa, where they approach Nanami for the next sword, the Akutu Bita, which is used to heal its owner's body. She was tired of waiting for her brother and decided to help him get the swords, but at the same time, she decided that she wanted to check his progress. Therefore, she insists she won't give them the sword, and Shichika has to fight for it. Their duel begins and Nanami throws him off to the ground with her pinky when he tries to make the first move. This makes him shocked, and she tells him she was the one who killed everyone in Aitsura, and she has taken over their strength. He tells her body is weak, but she shows him the Akutu on her chest. She leaves and they decide to fight later. Shichika is depressed for quite some time while thinking that he doesn't want to fight his elder sister, but Togame appears and tries to force him out of his depressed state, mentioning she got him a new fighting technique and a strategy for him to beat his sister. Nanami's abilities enable her to copy any technique she sees, therefore, she decides he must fight in the dark. Their final battle is scheduled for that same evening at the temple. Shichika appears and Togame switches off all of the 300 candles. Shichika takes this as his opportunity and uses his new skill to beat his sister and take the sword from her body, but Nanami stands up again. Togame tells her there is no reason for them to fight again since they have taken over the sword. She throws an attack at Togame, thereby cutting off her long hair. This gives Shichika a reason to fight, and he goes full out on his sister. He attacks her several times, while she thinks about how he's going to finally fulfill her wish. Her power is too great, and that's why she kept absorbing others' techniques and skills to make herself weaker, until her brother could finally kill her, as he finally pierces through her chest. After meeting Princess Haidai, they get to know that their next sword is located at the Shikazaki Kiki workshop. They do several tests to find out the weakness of the sword and find out that it needs to charge itself. They decide to fight at night, but first, they need to wear the doll's energy out. Shichika fights out based on Togame's strategy of buying time until the doll runs out of energy and stops moving. Their ninth sword is held by the head of Shinuisu School, Kiguchi Zenki, who refuses to fight Shichika because he claims to be a swordsman without even using a sword. Therefore Togame orders him to learn how to use a sword because Kiguchi cannot fight without one. He complains, saying that using a sword will make him weaker instead of stronger, but still decides to follow her wishes. Kiguchi then spends quite some time training him, but Togame finds them in a compromising incident and thinks they're having an affair. They head back to Kiguchi and Togame tells her she will duel Shichika after they finish their shogi match. Soon after, the duel begins, but Togame pulls out her distraction card. She starts pointing out Kiguchi's shogi mistakes, which led to her defeat in both shogi and the battle. Because Shichika takes advantage of her distraction and wins the fight, therefore taking her sword. They then depart, looking for the 10th sword, being held by Higaki Rin. They reach a wasteland, and each of them quickly starts to see illusions. Togame sees her father, who points out that she must be the one to find the sword by digging. But Shichika sees a little girl, who can change into several forms of the people he fought before, while claiming the sword was gifted to him by the creator himself. They return to Higaki, who reveals there are 1001 swords, instead of the former 1000. All swords were made for one purpose, to create a complete and perfect sword. And that sword is Shichika's family, who are true swords instead of sword wielders. They then depart to find the 11th sword and find Penguin injured. They take her to a hut and she explains that her companion, Hau, got the 11th sword but was possessed by it, and asks them to save him. The duo then heads out to Numanawa to find Hau. They see Hau upon arriving at Numanawa, but notice Shikazaki Kiki, the creator of the swords, has taken over his body, telling that he will rewrite history by killing and destroying everything and everyone that shouldn't belong to history. Shichika and Shikazaki's fight begins. They dodge and parry each other's attacks, but Shichika starts to get overpowered. He starts getting pushed back. Both jump into the air, and Shichika manages to evade several fatal blows. He then uses his quick attack succession until he finally manages to pierce Shikazaki's heart. Shichika and Togame hold hands while setting out to their final destination, where they can get the last sword held by Princess Haidai. On their way, they meet Imonzeman, Haidai's servant, who calls Togame by her real name, Princess Yaosha, and quickly shoots her with his guns. Shichika cannot believe what just happened. He couldn't move or react. It was too fast for him to even process the information. Imonzeman tells him Togame is still alive and they should share their last memory. Shichika speaks to Togame and begs her not to die, but she tells him she has never had the plan to travel the world with him. She just wanted to use him, and if she had survived, she would have killed him. But in the end, she reveals that she's happy to meet her end because she's been lying all this time to him. Except for one thing, her feelings. She's happy to die because she doesn't want to kill him. She gives him the last order, which is to forget her and move on, and asks if she can also fall for him before her last breath. Meanwhile, Haidai eventually gets an audience with the shogun. She delivers the swords to him and reveals herself as the last defendant of the Shikazaki and tells him of Shikazaki's wish to change the history of the world. As they talk, Imonzeman enters to tell them that Shichika is in the castle to destroy them. As a result, the king sends his retainers, all holding 12 swords, to defeat Shichika, but he deals with every single of them, including Imonzeman, who murdered Togame. He goes straight to the shogun because he is the one that sent Togame on the mission. He kills the shogun and decides to travel around Japan.